Most people think life breaks them because of bad luck, hard times, or other people. But that's not the real truth. The truth is, most people break because they never learned how to control their own mind. Stress shows up, and they fold. Fear whispers, and they freeze. Someone's careless words cut them down, and they carry that wound for years. But here's the secret that very few discover. A strong mind isn't a gift you're born with. It's something you build, and once it's built, once you have trained it, nothing outside of you can shake it. You walk into a room, and people feel your presence before you even speak. You face problems, but they don't rattle you. You move with quiet power, because your foundation is unbreakable. That's not magic. That's not luck. That's discipline. That's training. Let me take you to a story. The restless horse. There was once a young man named Daniel. He worked hard every day, yet felt like his life was going nowhere. His job drained him, his nights were restless, and his head was filled with noise. Every time he tried to focus, his mind would run away, thinking of bills, of mistakes, of what others thought of him. He described it once to a friend. "My mind feels like a wild horse," he said. "It just runs and runs, but it never takes me anywhere." His friend smiled and answered, "That's because you never trained it." Those words hit him like a stone. He had trained his muscles in the gym, trained his body to endure work, but never once had he thought of training his mind. And he realized, in that moment, that the greatest battle of life wasn't out in the world. It was right between his ears. The kings who trained their minds. Daniel began reading. He wanted answers. That's when he stumbled upon stories of great men who had walked before him. He read about Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor. A man who had wars to fight, betrayals to face, and an empire to lead. Yet in the middle of chaos, he sat in silence each morning, writing words to himself, training his mind to stay calm and unshaken. He studied Leonardo da Vinci, who carried notebooks everywhere. While others wasted their hours, Leonardo spent his observing, questioning, imagining. He was sharpening his thoughts like a blacksmith sharpens a blade, and Daniel realized something powerful. Greatness does not appear out of thin air. It is built, shaped, and forged through the daily training of the mind. The student who defeated fear. But Daniel wanted proof in real life. Could this work for ordinary people like him? One story gave him hope. A teacher told him about a student who always froze before exams. His hands shook, his stomach churned, and fear swallowed him whole. He failed again and again, not because he was stupid, but because his mind was his enemy. Then one day, the boy began a small practice. Each morning, for just 10 minutes, he told himself, "I am calm. I am focused. I am capable." He read a few pages from a book of wisdom before school, letting new ideas sharpen his thoughts. He practiced problems, not once, but until they became second nature. Slowly, his fear shrank. When exam day came, his mind no longer betrayed him. He walked in steady, confident. He passed, not because the test was easier, but because his mind was now his ally, not his enemy. Daniel begins his training inspired. Daniel started his own training. Every morning, instead of grabbing his phone, he sat in silence for 5 minutes. At first, it felt useless. His mind screamed with distractions. But he kept at it. He picked up books, not the empty kind that wasted time, but the kind that fed his brain. Biographies, philosophy, stories of people who overcame. He challenged himself to learn something new every week, even if it scared him. And most importantly, he practiced commanding his own thoughts. When a negative idea appeared, "You're not good enough, you'll never make it," he refused to bow to it. He replaced it with strength. "I am building. I am growing. I am capable." Each small victory gave him more power. Like a blacksmith hammering steel, he was shaping the iron of his own mind. The turning point. Months passed. Daniel didn't notice the change at first. But others did. At work, people saw he no longer panicked when problems came. He solved issues calmly, while everyone else rushed around in case. His boss noticed. His friends noticed. Even strangers seemed to respect the quiet strength he carried. One day, his old friend asked, "What happened to you? You used to be anxious all the time. Now you're unshaken." Daniel smiled. "I trained my mind. And it finally obeys me." The lesson for us what Daniel learned is the same truth Napoleon Hill taught years ago. The mind is the kingdom, and you are its ruler. If you do not rule it, it will rule you. It will drag you into fear, into doubt, into laziness. But if you train it daily, if you feed it strength, discipline, and wisdom, it becomes the greatest ally you'll ever have. A strong mind turns failures into lessons. It sees clearly when others are lost in confusion. It walks steady when others collapse. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize your greatest victory was not over the world, it was over yourself. This is the first step toward an unbreakable mind. Train your brain daily. The battles of life will come, but if your mind is steady, you will stand in the storm without shaking. The kings of old trained. The inventors trained. The leaders trained. And now, it's your turn. White heavy check mark. That's part 1, around 1,000 words in story style, simple and engaging, inspired by Napoleon Hill. Would you like me to continue and prepare part 2, master weak thoughts, next in the same style? Part 2, turning fear into power. Have you ever noticed how fear shows up right when you are about to do something important? The student opens his book before an exam, and fear whispers, "What if you fail?" The worker stands before a big promotion, and fear warns, "What if you're not good enough?" The dreamer closes his eyes at night, imagining a better life, and fear surrounds him with shadows. "What if you never make it?" Fear is clever. It doesn't always scream. Most of the time, it whispers. And because of that whisper, millions never even begin. Millions quit halfway. Millions bury their dreams before they are ever born. But here's the hidden truth, the truth most people never discover. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is energy. Fear is raw fire. And when you learn to take that fire and control it, it becomes power. The difference between those who remain ordinary and those who rise to greatness is not that one group has no fear, it's that one group has learned to transform fear into fuel. A soldier's secret. Picture a young soldier marching toward battle. His chest is tight, his heart pounds, his breath grows heavy. Fear is in every step he takes. He could let it paralyze him, and if he did, he would die before the fight even began. But the trained soldier knows something different. Fear is fuel. He channels it to sharpen his senses, to make him faster, more alert, more alive. In his hands, fear becomes a weapon. This is why some men crumble in the face of danger, while others rise with unshakable courage. It isn't that the brave have no fear, they simply use fear instead of letting fear use them. The young woman on stage. Now imagine a young woman named Claire. She dreamed of becoming a public speaker, but every time she stood before a crowd, fear attacked her. Her hands trembled, her voice shook, her thoughts screamed, "Run away." For years she obeyed fear. She avoided the stage. She kept her dream locked inside. But one day, something changed. Instead of resisting fear, she embraced it. She told herself, "This shaking in my body is not weakness, it's energy." She stood on stage again. At first her voice wavered. But then, something happened. She let the fear run through her, not as panic, but as passion. Her words caught fire. By the end, the audience wasn't just listening, they were moved, inspired, transformed. She walked off that stage not because she had conquered fear, but because she had turned fear into power. Napoleon Hill's truth about fear. Napoleon Hill, in his classic studies of successful men and women, wrote that fear is one of the greatest obstacles to achievement. But he didn't say the goal was to eliminate fear. Instead, he taught that fear can be used. He interviewed millionaires, leaders, inventors, and visionaries. None of them were free of fear. Instead, they faced it, transformed it, and walked forward anyway. They understood that fear signals growth. Fear is proof you are standing at the edge of something bigger than yourself. How to transform fear. So how can you turn fear into power in your own life? 1. Recognize fear for what it is. Fear is not a chain. Fear is a signal. It means something matters. It means you are about to grow. Point 2. Breathe into it. When fear shows up, don't run. Take a deep breath. Tell yourself, this is not weakness. This is energy. Point 3. Take small steps. Step into the things that scare you. Public speaking, leading, starting a new project. Do it in small doses until your fear becomes fuel. Point 4. Reframe the voice of fear. When fear says, "What if you fail?" Answer, "Then I will learn." When fear says, "What if you're not good enough?" Answer, "Then I will grow stronger." Each time you face fear, you collect strength. Each time you use it, you gain power. The athlete who built mental walls. Now let's turn to another truth. Fear isn't the only enemy. The world itself throws storms at us: insults, failures, disappointments. If we let every word, every setback, every doubt walk freely into our minds, then we are conquered before the battle even begins. That's why Napoleon Hill taught the necessity of building mental walls. Imagine a young man training to be an athlete. Every coach told him he was too small. Every teammate said he was too weak. Even his own mind began to echo those doubts. But instead of letting those words break him, he built a fortress. Each morning, he told himself, "My strength is growing. My spirit is unbreakable." When others mocked, their words bounced off his walls. He trained harder, he pushed further, and one day, he won, not just on the field, but within himself. His victory wasn't just in the race. It was in his mind. Building your fortress. How do you build unbreakable mental walls? Notice your thoughts. Which ones strengthen you? Which ones weaken you? Keep the strong. Let the weak fall away. Feed your mind discipline. Moments of silence. Words of strength. Habits of self-command. Decide your boundaries. No insult, no failure, no outside voice has the right to rule your inner world. Every day, you lay one stone. Then another. Then another. Soon, a fortress rises inside you, a fortress no storm can destroy. The world is noisy, full of chaos and doubt. You can't stop the storms. But you can protect your mind. And once that fortress is built, you will walk through life untouchable, carrying a strength no one can break. The truth about fear will never leave you. It will always appear before every big step. But you hold the choice. You can let it crush you, or you can let it fuel you. The soldier used it to sharpen his sword. The young woman used it to ignite her words. The athlete used it to guard his spirit. And you? You can use it to rise. Because the day you turn fear into power is the day nothing will ever stop you again. Fire. That is part 2, 1,000 words, written in story-driven, Napoleon Hill, style language, easy for American readers, with examples and strong imagery. Would you like me to continue with part 3, build unbreakable mental walls, in the same style next? Part 3, the unstoppable mind. There comes a moment in every person's life when the world seems to rise against them. The dream that once felt so close suddenly feels out of reach. You face failure, doubt, and resistance from every side. Most people stop there. They throw down their weapons and walk away. But a rare few refuse to stop. They stand tall in the storm, not because they never feel fear, but because their mind is stronger than the storm itself. These are the men and women who learn the greatest secret of success. When you master your mind, nothing can conquer you. Let me tell you a story. The young man who refused to quit. There was once a young man who dreamed of becoming a doctor. His family had little money. Every step of his journey, the world told him, "You can't do this." He failed his first exam. His friends laughed behind his back. Even his own thoughts whispered, "Maybe this dream isn't for you." Most people would have stopped right there. But he made a decision that changed everything. "I will not quit." He studied longer. He worked harder. And every time failure tried to bend him, he strengthened his mind instead of breaking. Years later, he became the very thing others said he could never be, a doctor. The truth is, his body grew tired, his path was steep, and the nights were long. But his unbreakable mind carried him across what once looked impossible. This is what it means to become mentally unstoppable. Why most people fail. Let's be honest. Life isn't easy. One day you're full of hope, and the next you're struck down by failure. Friends doubt you. Circumstances block you. Even your own thoughts can rise up like enemies, telling you to surrender. But here's the painful truth. Most people don't fail because the world was too heavy. They fail because their mind grew too weak. The greatest prison in life is not built of iron. It is built of fear, doubt, and hesitation. When you stop moving forward, not because you can't, but because you've convinced yourself you can't, you lock yourself inside that prison. And the only key is mental strength. The power of small battles. You might be asking, how do I build such a mind? The answer is simple. Start small. When you feel like quitting, push a little further. When fear rises, face it instead of running. Every time you choose strength over weakness, your mind learns endurance. Think of it like a muscle. Nobody walks into a gym and lifts 300 pounds on their first day. strength is built one small rep at a time. Mental toughness works the same way. When your thoughts say, "I can't," answer back with, "Yes, I will." When failure shows up, don't treat it as the end. Treat it as a teacher. Over time, your mind becomes like tempered steel, flexible under pressure, yet unbreakable in strength. The student who learned focus now, strength alone isn't enough. You can be tough, but if your energy is scattered in 1,000 directions, you'll never reach your goal. That's why you must also develop iron-strong focus. Imagine a young student preparing for a major exam. At first, he's easily distracted. His phone buzzes, friends call him, and his thoughts drift. His results are poor, not because he isn't smart, but because he cannot hold his attention. But then, he makes a decision. Each day, he sets aside 1 hour to study with complete focus. Whenever his mind wanders, he brings it back. Day by day, his focus grows like a muscle. By the time the exam arrives, he is sharp, steady, and confident. The same student who once stumbled now stands strong, all because he trained his focus. The warrior mindset. But even with focus, life will strike at you. Setbacks will come without warning. You will be betrayed, disappointed, and tested when you least expect it. That is why you must go one step further. Create a warrior mindset. A warrior does not wait for life to be easy. He does not run from storms. He sharpens his spirit to face them. His strength is not only in his body but in his mind, where discipline, courage, and endurance rise like armor. Think of a young woman who dreamed of leading her community. At first, people dismissed her. Even her own thoughts said, "You are not strong enough." But she chose the warrior's path. She woke up early, trained her body, disciplined her mind, and acted with courage. Each time fear rose, she answered it with action. Each time doubt appeared, she answered it with persistence. Over time, her voice grew steady, her presence grew powerful, and people began to follow her. What changed? Not the world, but her mindset. Breaking the chains of mental limits. Still, even warriors face the invisible chains of mental limits. These are the voices that say, "I can't go further. I'm not capable. This is too hard." But these limits are lies. They are illusions built from fear, comfort, and doubt. Think of a young man training for a marathon. By mile 15, his body aches and his mind screams, "Stop. This is your limit." He slows, ready to quit, but then he remembers why he began. He takes another step, then another. The pain becomes fuel. And when he crosses the finish line, he realizes the truth. The limit was never in his body. It was only in his mind. Every time you push one step past your limit, you smash another chain. Do this long enough, and you discover that your strength has no fixed boundary. It grows with every test you face. The final truth. So what does it all mean? It means that the greatest victories in life are not over mountains, enemies, or rivals. They are over the limits you once thought were unbreakable. When you become mentally unstoppable, when you sharpen your focus like iron, when you create the mindset of a warrior, when you crush the false limits in your mind, then you become a person the world cannot defeat. Remember this truth: storms will always come, failures will always arrive, and doubt will always whisper. But if your mind remains unshaken, you will outlast them all. The one who cannot be stopped is the one who cannot be conquered. Sparkles. That's part 3 in Napoleon Hill's storytelling style, written in simple, motivational American English. Part 4. The power of self-discipline. There is one truth about success that most people don't want to hear. It will never belong to the lazy. Every man or woman who has ever climbed to greatness did it on the back of discipline. They woke up when others slept. They worked when others played. They sacrificed comfort to buy freedom later. People search for secrets, shortcuts, and hacks. But the real secret has always been the same. Self-discipline is the bridge between your dreams and your destiny. The farmer who became a king long ago, there lived a poor farmer who dreamed of one day becoming a leader. He had no money, no power, no education. The people around him laughed at his dream. But he had one thing: discipline. Each morning before the sun rose, he worked his fields, not just for food but for strength. Each evening, while others wasted time, he studied by the fire, teaching himself the wisdom of men greater than him. Year after year, his habits built him into a man of knowledge, character, and power. One day, when the land needed a leader, people looked around and saw in him the strength they could trust. The poor farmer became a king. His crown was not handed to him. It was forged by years of self-discipline. Why discipline beats motivation? You've probably heard people say, "I'll start when I feel motivated." But here's the problem. Motivation is a visitor, not a resident. It comes when it wants, and it leaves when you need it most. If you wait for motivation, you'll waste your life waiting. Discipline, on the other hand, is reliable. Discipline means you act whether you feel like it or not. It means you choose progress over comfort, purpose over pleasure. Motivation may get you started, but discipline is what keeps you moving when the road grows dark and the journey feels endless. The student who built his future. Let me tell you about a student I once knew. He wasn't the smartest in his class. In fact, people often overlooked him. But he had one quality that outshined them all: discipline. Every day, he set aside 3 hours to study. Not sometimes, not only when he felt inspired, every day. While others were distracted by television, games, and friends, he stayed steady. At first, his results were average. But over time, something incredible happened. His knowledge grew deeper, his confidence stronger, and his path clearer. Years later, he was accepted into one of the best universities. His classmates asked, "How did you do it?" He smiled and answered with one word: discipline. It wasn't brilliance that carried him forward. It was consistency. Small daily habits, big lifelong results. Most people think discipline means doing something huge. But discipline doesn't start with mountains, it starts with pebbles. Do the small things right, and the big things take care of themselves. Wake up when you said you would. Finish the task you promised yourself. Save a little money instead of spending it all. Read one chapter instead of scrolling for hours. Each small act of discipline builds strength in your character, just like lifting small weights prepares you for heavier ones. Over time, these habits compound, creating massive results. Remember, greatness is never built in a single day. It is built in daily decisions repeated over years. The soldier's lesson during a war. A young soldier once asked his commander, "How do you stay strong when you are tired, afraid, and wounded?" The commander replied, "I don't wait to feel strong. I act strong. My body obeys because my mind commands. That is discipline." The soldier never forgot that lesson. He realized that discipline was not about never feeling weakness. It was about refusing to let weakness decide your actions. And that is the secret we all must learn. You cannot control every emotion, but you can always control your choices. How to build unshakable discipline. So how do you begin? How do you create the kind of discipline that shapes kings, leaders, and champions? 1. Start small. Don't try to change your whole life in a day. Begin with one habit: waking up on time, exercising for 10 minutes, or reading for 15. Small victories build momentum. Point 2. Keep promises to yourself. Every time you say you'll do something and follow through, your self-respect grows. Each broken promise weakens your confidence. Discipline is built by keeping your word, even when no one is watching. Point 3. Choose long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Comfort feels good today but costs you tomorrow. Discipline is the ability to say, "Not now," so that later you can say, "I've won." 4. Create structure. Don't rely on willpower alone. Set routines, plan your days, remove temptations. A disciplined environment makes a disciplined life. Point 5. Train your mind like a muscle. When you feel like stopping, push a little further. When you want to quit, stay one more minute. Each act of resistance makes you stronger. The businessman who rose from nothing. Consider the story of a man who came to America with nothing but a dream. He worked odd jobs, saving every dollar he could. While others spent their money on nights out and luxuries, he disciplined himself to invest in learning and growth. He studied business at night, worked during the day, and lived simply. His friends mocked him, saying he was too strict with himself. Years later, while his friends still lived paycheck to paycheck, he owned a chain of successful stores. What built his fortune? Not luck, not talent, discipline. The hidden freedom of discipline. Most people think discipline is a prison. They believe rules and routines steal their freedom. But here's the truth: discipline is not a prison. It is the key to freedom. The man who disciplines himself to work hard gains the freedom of wealth. The woman who disciplines herself to care for her health gains the freedom of energy. The student who disciplines himself to study gains the freedom of opportunity. Undisciplined people may enjoy short bursts of pleasure, but they are slaves to their impulses. Disciplined people enjoy a lifetime of power because they rule themselves. The final truth: if you want to rise above the crowd, do not chase motivation, build discipline. When others give up, discipline will keep you going. When others waste time, discipline will push you forward. When others regret, discipline will let you rejoice. Self-discipline is not glamorous, but it is the foundation of all greatness. It is the quiet force that shapes dreams into reality. Remember this: every act of discipline today is a step toward freedom tomorrow. So train your will. Master your habits. Live by discipline, not desire. And you will discover that the life others dream about is waiting for you, on the other side of consistency. Why have you checkmark? That's part 4, storytelling, simple American English, about self-discipline as Napoleon Hill would emphasize. Would you like me to make part 5 about mastering persistence and resilience? Never giving up even when life knocks you down, or should I continue directly with the outline you already had in your draft? Part 5. The secret of persistence. There is one reason most people never see their dreams fulfilled. They quit too soon. They start with fire in their hearts, energy in their steps, and a vision in their minds. But the first obstacle rises, the first failure comes, and they stop. Life whispers to them, "It's too hard. You're not good enough. Maybe this dream isn't meant for you." And they listen. But here's the truth: the path to greatness is not for those who stop at the first difficulty. It is for those who keep walking, step after step, no matter how rough the road becomes. Persistence is the master key. The gold miner's lesson. In the 1800s, during the Great Gold Rush, there was a man who sold everything he owned to buy land, tools, and workers. He dreamed of striking it rich. For months they dug and dug, but the earth gave them nothing. Finally, frustrated and broken, he quit. He sold the land to another man for almost nothing. The new owner hired a mining engineer to study the land. The engineer discovered that gold was just 3 feet away from where the first man had stopped digging. 3 feet. That was the difference between giving up in despair and becoming a millionaire. This is the tragedy of most people's lives. They quit just before the breakthrough. Why persistence beats talent? Talent is useful. Intelligence is powerful. But without persistence, they are wasted. The world is full of talented people who never succeeded, because they lacked the will to keep going when the journey became hard. And history is full of ordinary men and women who changed the world, not because they were the smartest or strongest, but because they refused to stop. Persistence is greater than talent. Persistence is greater than luck. Persistence is the one quality that guarantees you will reach the finish line, no matter how many storms rise against you. The boy who wouldn't quit. I once knew a young boy who dreamed of becoming a football player. He wasn't the biggest. He wasn't the fastest. But he had one gift: he never quit. Every time he was knocked down, he got back up. Every time he was told, "You're not good enough," he trained harder. His teammates laughed at his clumsy mistakes, but he stayed after practice, running drills until the sun went down. Years later, the same boy became captain of his team. Reporters asked him, "How did you rise when so many others gave up?" He answered simply, "I just kept getting back up." That is persistence in its purest form. The river and the rock. Think of a river flowing against a mountain rock. The rock is strong, heavy, and unmovable. But day after day, year after year, the river keeps flowing. It does not stop, it does not turn back. And in time, that river carves through the rock itself. Persistence is like that river. No matter how solid the obstacles in front of you seem, if you keep pressing, keep moving, keep flowing, one day you will break through. How to build persistence? So, how can you develop this power? How can you create persistence so strong that no failure, no setback, no storm can stop you? 1. Have a clear purpose. A man without purpose quits easily. A man with a burning desire pushes through anything. Your why must be bigger than your pain. 2. Expect failure. Don't be surprised when life knocks you down. Failure is not the end, it is a teacher. Each setback carries a lesson that prepares you for the next step. 3. Decide in advance that you will not quit. Make it a rule. Write it down. Say it out loud. No matter what happens, I will not stop until I succeed. 4. Take it one step at a time. Some people quit because they focus on the mountain ahead. Instead, focus on the next step. Small victories build big endurance. 5. Surround yourself with persistence. Read stories of those who refuse to quit. Keep company with people who push forward. Inspiration feeds resilience. The inventor's fire. Thomas Edison, the great inventor, once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Most men would have quit after 100 failed experiments. Edison persisted through thousands, and because of his persistence, the world was given light. What if Edison had quit on attempt number 500? Or 5,000? We might still be sitting in darkness. That is the power of persistence. It changes not only your life but the lives of generations to come. The businesswoman who refused to stop. There was a young woman who dreamed of opening a bakery. Everyone told her it was impossible. She had no money, no connections, and no business knowledge. Her first shop failed. Her second shop also failed. But she refused to stop. She learned from each mistake, improved her recipes, studied her customers, and tried again. By her fourth attempt, she finally succeeded. Today, she owns a chain of bakeries across the country. When people ask her, "What was the secret?" she always says the same thing: "I was too stubborn to quit." Persistence turns weakness into strength. Most people believe you need strength to persist. But the truth is the opposite. Persistence creates strength. Every time you refuse to quit, your will grows harder. Every time you stand up after a fall, your spirit grows tougher. Every time you continue despite fear, your courage grows stronger. Persistence is not a gift you are born with. It is a skill you build, like muscle through exercise. The final truth: the road to success is filled with obstacles. That is not a curse, it is a test. Life is asking you one question: how badly do you want it? Most will answer by quitting. A few will answer by continuing. And those few will claim the rewards others only dream about. Remember this: success always hides behind the wall of persistence. The ones who push through it are the ones who win.so decide today. No matter how many times you fail, no matter how many doors close, no matter how long it takes, do not stop. Because the man who persists cannot be defeated. White heavy checkmark. That's part 5. The power of persistence, with stories, examples, and Napoleon Hill's spirit of keep going no matter what. Do you want me to send the final part 6, with a strong call to action for readers? Like, subscribe, share, comment, in the same storytelling style? Part 6. The Unstoppable Mind, Becoming the Master of Your Destiny. Most people live as passengers on the road of life. They drift where the wind blows, chasing comfort, following the crowd, surrendering to fear. But a rare few rise above. They grip the wheel, set their eyes on a destination, and drive with unshakable determination. These are the men and women who leave legacies, who shape history, who refuse to let life happen to them, because they decide to happen to life. And the greatest secret they all knew is this: the mind is the master key. Control it, and you control your future. The farmer's choice. Let me tell you about a farmer. He had 2 fields side by side. One he tended carefully, planting seeds, watering daily, protecting it from weeds. The other he ignored, letting nature take its course. Months later, one field was filled with golden crops, the other overrun with weeds and thorns. The farmer understood: the mind is like those fields. If you plant strong thoughts, nurture discipline, and guard against fear, it grows a harvest of success. If you neglect it, weak thoughts and doubts will invade, and failure will be the only crop. Every person faces this choice daily: to tend the field of the mind, or to leave it unguarded. A boy with a dream. There was once a boy from a poor family. He had no money, no connections, no special advantages. But he carried one thing in his heart, a dream. He wanted to be a lawyer, to stand in courtrooms and fight for justice. The world around him laughed. Impossible. You don't have the money. You don't have the education. Stay in your place. But the boy refused to accept their limits. He trained his mind every day. He studied books late into the night, copying pages by hand when he couldn't afford them. He built persistence when doors slammed in his face. He turned his fear into energy each time he spoke before strangers. Years later, that same boy stood tall in the courtroom, not as a poor dreamer, but as Abraham Lincoln, the President of the United States. Lincoln's story proves what Napoleon Hill taught: success begins in the mind, long before it appears in the world. Faith and action. A strong mind is not enough by itself. Faith without action is only a wish. Action without faith is only movement. But when faith and action unite, they become unstoppable. Think of Henry Ford. People mocked him when he spoke of building a car for every family. Engineers told him it was impossible. Bankers refused to lend him money. Yet he believed so strongly in his vision that he kept building, kept failing, kept improving. His faith fueled his persistence. His persistence drove his action. And his action changed the way the world moves. This is the formula. Definite purpose plus unshakable faith plus relentless action equals mastery of destiny. Storms will come, make no mistake. Storms will always come. You will lose friends. You will lose money. You will face failure after failure. Some days you will doubt yourself so deeply that quitting feels easier than continuing. But storms are not sent to destroy you, they are sent to test you. Life asks every person, are you strong enough to keep going? Most bow their heads and give up. But those who persist discover something amazing. The storm was never the enemy. It was the training ground that shaped them into leaders. How to become mentally unstoppable. 1. Set a definite goal. Choose a purpose that sets your soul on fire. Without a clear goal, persistence has no direction. 2. Train daily. Feed your mind with wisdom. Strengthen your body with discipline. Build habits that guard against weakness. 3. Transform fear. Don't run from fear, turn it into energy. Every great achievement carries fear in its shadow. 4. Persist through failure. Failure is not the end, it is the refining fire. Each mistake brings you closer to mastery. 5. Guard your mind. Do not let insults, doubts, or negativity enter. Build walls around your thoughts. Let only strength remain inside. 6. Act decisively. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Start with what you have. Small, consistent action builds unstoppable momentum. The story of the stonecutter. There is a legend of a stonecutter who struck a rock 99 times without a crack. On the 100th strike, the rock split open. It wasn't the final strike alone that broke the stone, but the 99 strikes before it. Persistence does not always show results immediately, but every effort builds power until the moment of breakthrough. Life works the same way. You may not see results today, or tomorrow, or next month. But every step you take, every failure you rise from, every storm you endure, adds weight to your final victory. The final decision in the end, success is not a matter of luck, talent, or circumstances. It is a matter of decision. Do you decide to rule your mind, or to let it rule you? Do you decide to persist, or to quit? Do you decide to live by fear, or to transform it into fire? Every person carries this power. Most never use it. But if you choose today, right now, to master your mind, to persist no matter what, to act with faith and courage, then nothing on earth can stop you. Napoleon Hill said it best. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. The power is already inside you. The question is, will you claim it? Your call to action. If these 6 parts have stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Action is the bridge between thought and destiny. Fire. Subscribe so you don't miss the next lessons that can transform your life. Speech Alone. Share your thoughts in the comments. What fear will you turn into power today? Handshake. Share this with someone you care about. Because sometimes the spark of greatness is lit by a single word at the right time. Remember, the mind is your kingdom. Rule it well, and the world will bow before your strength. Your journey doesn't end here, it begins here. Decide now to walk the path of the unstoppable. White heavy check mark. That completes the 6-part Napoleon Hill inspired series.